Hello and welcome back to our weekly global briefing. I'm Chris. We are looking at the week of March 23rd through the 27th, 2026. If the previous week was the kinetic shock of the missile strikes in the Persian Gulf, this week was the cold calculation of the aftermath. We aren't just looking at high oil prices anymore. We are looking at the potential structural failure of the global energy transit system. Let's start with the hard data from Qatar. This week, Qatar Energy officially declared force majeure on its major LNG export contracts. For those who don't follow energy law, force majeure is the emergency exit for a corporation when an act of God or war prevents them from fulfilling their promises. But the reality is grimmer than a legal filing. The strikes on Ras Laffan Industrial City on March 18th and 19th didn't just damage pipes, they compromised the structural integrity of the world's most critical LNG trains. Current intelligence suggests that 20% of the world's global liquefied natural gas capacity is now in a state of indefinite suspension. The multi-year timeline to bring these facilities back to 100% has sent shockwaves through South Korea, Japan, and Western Europe. We are seeing demand destruction in real time. In Germany and Italy, heavy industries, steel, glass, and chemical manufacturing have begun curtailment protocols. They simply cannot afford the input costs, and in many cases, the physical molecules are not reaching their ports. This energy vacuum led to the biggest political story in Washington this week. On Tuesday, March 24th, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth formally went to Capitol Hill with a request that silenced the room: a $200 billion emergency supplemental war fund. This isn't just for defense, it is a dedicated offensive protection fund to secure the Strait of Hormuz. The standoff in Congress this week was the most intense we've seen in years. The fiscal hawks are pointing to a national debt screaming toward $36 trillion, arguing that we cannot bankroll the world's gas pump. However, the administration's counter-argument is terrifying. If the U.S. Navy doesn't clear the drone swarms and the fast attack craft from the strait, oil won't stop at $115, it will hit $200 by May. By Friday, March 27th, we saw Brent crude stabilize at $115, but it's a nervous stability. The market is holding its breath for the April 1st budget deadline. If that $200 billion fund isn't approved, or if we hit a technical government shutdown, the fear premium will return with a vengeance. We are no longer in a just-in-time economy, we are in a wartime buffer economy. While the physical world is fighting over the Strait of Hormuz, the digital world is building what I call the Silicon Curtain. This week, the tech sector moved from excitement to a state of absolute geopolitical lockdown. The biggest story wasn't a product launch, but a federal indictment. On Wednesday, the U.S. Attorney's Office unsealed a massive case involving Supermicro. The allegations involve a $2.5 billion smuggling ring designed to funnel high-end NVIDIA Blackwell and Vera Rubin chips into restricted zones via third-party shell companies. Supermicro's stock cratered 33% on the news. This is a clear signal from Washington. AI chips are now treated with the same level of export control as nuclear-grade uranium. But beneath the scandals, the technology itself is hitting a massive paradigm shift. Following the GTC 2026 conference, this week was the official birth of agentic AI. We have moved past the era of chatbots that simply answer questions. We are now entering the era of autonomous agents that execute workflows. NVIDIA's Jensen Huang made a bold prediction on Thursday. He expects global AI infrastructure demand to hit $1 trillion by 2027. But he's not talking about cloud software. He is talking about sovereign AI factories, massive gigawatt-scale data centers that function as a nation's intellectual engine. Here is the irony, though. These AI factories require an astronomical amount of electricity. This week, we saw the emergence of energy-gated intelligence. At a time when LNG is scarce and oil is at $115, the cost of training a world-class model has become a matter of national energy policy. We saw a massive market rotation this week out of pure SaaS, or software companies, and into infrastructure integrators like Dell and HP Enterprise. Why? Because they are the ones securing the power-redundant data centers. If you are a company without a secured power source, you simply cannot compete in the 2026 AI race. This week, the line between an AI company and an energy company officially blurred into one. Finally, let's talk about the survival of your capital, specifically the great decoupling of the crypto markets. Last week, we saw Bitcoin hit a staggering $109,000 during the peak of the Qatar panic. This week, March 23rd to 27th, was the re-entry phase. Bitcoin spent the week consolidating in a range between $67,000 and $72,000. While we saw some institutional profit-taking, nearly $300 million in ETF outflows, the underlying metrics tell a different story. The minor position index is at a decade low. This means the people who actually produce Bitcoin are not selling. They are hoarding. In an era where energy is the world's most expensive and volatile commodity, proof-of-work assets like Bitcoin are being treated as digital canned energy. It is the ultimate hedge against a collapsing fiat system under the weight of $200 billion war funds. XRP also held its ground this week, maintaining its new status as a digital commodity. As the traditional banking system prepares for the possibility of a U.S. government shutdown on April 1st, decentralized liquidity has never looked more attractive. So, what are we predicting for the week ahead? First, the April 1st deadline. I expect a 48 to 72-hour technical shutdown of the U.S. government. This will be the ultimate test for the decoupling. If the government pauses and Bitcoin holds or pumps, the narrative is over. Bitcoin is no longer a risk asset. It is the global insurance policy. Second, the $200 billion war fund. Watch for a compromise bill by Wednesday. If it passes, oil might cool to $105. If it fails, or is delayed, $130 a barrel is the next target for Brent crude. Third, AI hardware. The Supermicro investigation is going to widen. Watch for a flight to proven supply chains. Dell, HPE, and even specialized players in the modular nuclear space are the ones to watch as they build data centers that don't rely on the unstable global grid. The final week of March is going to be about one thing: liquidity. In a world of war, energy scarcity, and agentic AI, the only thing that matters is how fast you can move value and how well you can protect your power source. This has been your weekly briefing for March 27, 2026. Stay resilient, stay informed, and I will see you in the next update. I'm Chris.